The opening game of the Rugby Championship this weekend, folks, sees the Pumas once again taking on the Wallabies, this time in Sydney. These two sides played out a cracker of a match last week, which finished 28-24. The Wallabies showing some guts and determination to win it at the death, not opting for a draw. That sees them second on the log, just behind the All Blacks. But realistically, if the Box and the Pumas can get their jobs done away from home this week, hey, it's going to be all to play for in those final two rounds. We will go through the squads which have been announced. There are a few changes. The Aussies are dealing with, once again, more injuries, some predictions, some stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this weekend's games are going to go. We will start with the Wallabies. I mentioned injury changes. One bit of good news is James Slip is back after having the HIA thing over in South Africa. He's back and he's at loosehead prop for this one. He's starting alongside Billy Pollard and Taniela Tupou. So that's, a really veteran experienced campaigner to have in the mix. But, you've lost your 10 again. Tom Liner, after just getting back from an injury, is now out again with a hamstring issue. So Tane Edmed is going to pull the strings at 10 for the Wallabies in this one. So they've had Lolosio, they've had Liner, they've had James O'Connor. Now it's Tane Edmed getting a crack for the Wallabies. He's obviously been in the mix before, but it's going to be his first ever start. So big pressure on that man, but he's a talented guy. We've seen him do it at different levels, but test level is going to be like a test for the guy, for want of a better word. Elsewhere in the pack, Jeremy Williams is starting in the number 4 jersey this week in place of Nick Frost, who's got a bit of a sore back. So Jeremy Williams is that good kind of all-round lock, high work rate, can do great things in the air. So it's a good guy to have in for Frost, who's also a great line-out operator. Tom Hooper continues on after having a really kind of busy, high work rate shift last week, which you feel like is part of the reason the Wallabies were able to get the job done. There were numerous guys just continuing to throw themselves into tackles or ball carries or pop passes or whatever it was. They were certainly not one for trying. Rob Ballatini is still there at number 6. Fraser McCrory will continue to be a threat at the breakdown. And Harry Wilson, geez, was he impressive last week. Honestly, if he played for another country which has perhaps got more of a focus on rugby union, or even a team which is just regarded as a bit sexier like France or maybe even the All Blacks, I think he'd be getting bigger props than he gets playing for Australia. But the dude was putting in kicks and making tackles and carries and pop passes and everything, winning lineouts. Harry Wilson, and he's that captain who wouldn't go for the draw, even if he was getting the call from upstairs. Really, really impressive guy. Very, very chuffed for him at number 8, because the Aussie back row is competitive, and he was by no means a kind of lock-in or shoe-in for that role. But given that he's the captain, he's playing the way he is, he's looked like a marvelous selection. The 9-10 combo, as I mentioned, Edmed, he's got Nick White alongside him. So if you're going to have a guy to play alongside, you got your veteran to kind of keep the nerves calm and, hopefully take a bit of the pressure off the less experienced guy. And then more injury woes in the midfield. And geez, Len Ikitau's been playing so well. Set up 3 tries last week, was their top ball carrier. And yet he's injured with a knee problem. So Hunter Paisami comes back in. Haven't seen him play for a while. He's also a good player, but really big shoes to fill with Ikitau being out. Ikitau is just the everywhere man. He's Johnny on the spot so many times for the Wallabies. So Paisami's got his work cut out for him. Sueli with his, crazy skill set is still going to be there doing magic things at 13 if he can get the ball from the likes of an Edmed or a Paisami. Wings, Corey Toole, the speedster's still there. Max Jorgensen, who's, still been very busy last week, even if he didn't get maybe the same kind of X-Factor stuff he has in some of the previous games. And then Callaway, who was a pretty good stand-in for Tom Wright, is there as well. Fullbacks are same. Bench-wise, Josh Nasser comes in as the replacement hooker for Paingamosa. Angus Bell did the Angus Bell thing, scoring the late try, which is great to see because he's got that bit of punch from the bench. Nongor is still there. And then Salakai Oloto, speaking of punch from the bench, if you want a big physical lock who's going to help push the scrum forward and put in some big hits, Salakai Oloto is a great guy to have. He excelled against the British and Irish Lions multiple times just a few months ago. Tizano is the loose forward replacement once again. McDermott's going to bring that sniping game from the bench again. He looked good last week. James O'Connor, the veteran, to steady the nerves and potentially see out a game there, same as he did last week. And Dalguna will be hoping for some minutes this week. But yeah, they've looked sharp, the Wallabies, man. I'm really liking the way they're playing. I mean, all of their back three got line breaks last week. It just shows like how well their back line is clicking, especially compared to some of the other sides, making the most of the sunny weather in Townsville, I guess. For the Pumas, the changes are a bit more minimal, like Vivas, Montoya, Sclavi. Same in the front row. I thought Sclavi had a pretty good game in the tight head row. He's a big unit of a guy. They'll be looking for some more scrummaging action from him. Petty swaps places with Molina in the second row. That's kind of a like-for-like replacement. Both these guys are pretty skilled, especially in the air. Rubiolo's the more hard-tackling lock alongside him. And then Juan Martin Gonzalez, Marcos Crema, and Joaquin Oviedo is the back row. So Matera and Oviedo also do the same thing that Molina and Petty are doing, is just swapping the starter for the replacement. Oviedo's a great big ball carrier from number 8. They'll be looking to him, if they can get some ball, to just steam onto it, because that's kind of what he excels at. And Crema made 31 bloody tackles last week. That's quite incredible. But they will be hoping he doesn't need to make that many this week, because honestly, last week they were just under a lack of possession kind of pressure. The backs lit things up last week, and I think they've made minimal changes there for a reason. Gonzalo Garcia and Santi Carreras linked up really well. In terms of like ball carrying 10s at the moment of all the rugby championship teams, like last week you had Bodie, you had Pollard, and you had Liner for the Wallabies. Like Santi Carreras is the main guy who was, really chalking up the run meters, looking to be the link-up man and whatnot, instead of just the playmaker. So he continues that role, and he's dangerous if you give him that kind of space. The guy plays in the outside backs as well for a reason. The midfield of Chocobares and Sinti, I think alongside Ikitau and Suoli, is one of the best midfield duos in the game at the moment. Sinti has been busting tackles for fun. Chocobares has been getting line breaks. How good were they off that kind of first phase scrum ball? And then the outside backs, they've made one change. Iskro, the 7 speedster, comes in for Delgui on the right wing, and Mateo Carreras, who is their proper danger man, continues on the left wing. He did get a yellow card last week as kind of a team yellow card for repeated offsides, but he looked real dangerous with that footwork and that speed of his. Bench, Ruiz, Wagner, and Correa Machete, that's the same. There's no changes to the bench replacements. Molina, as I said, drops to the bench. Matera drops to the bench. He'll be fired up when he gets on. And then Mojano, Picado, and Mendy are the back replacements. So they've brought in Picado for Priscantelli. Probably comes on in the midfield, but we'll see. And then Mendy, he's probably going to come on to the wing when he comes on. He's also a bit of a speedster. So it seems more like tinkering than wholesale changes for the Pumas boys. Some stats. The Aussie penalty count crept up last week. First 2 games over in South Africa, it was single digits. Last week it was 10. And some of them were dumb. Like Taniela Tupou gave away a couple of pretty dumb ones. And of the 10 penalties they conceded, Argentina kicked 4. So you can't be giving away 12 points like that to the Pumas in another game that might cost you. They'll be looking to keep the discipline a bit better. Like 10 is not bad in the scheme of things, but it is creeping up for them, which is certainly something that they will want to watch, particularly given that Argentina are the one side, the Rugby Championship this year, that are happy to opt for the 3s. But honestly, cracking the line was great. They've been the best side in the Rugby Championship thus far for just generating those clean breaks. Like they managed 5 against Argentina in that game in Townsville, which is more than New Zealand managed in 2 games against Argentina. Obviously, it's different. You're playing in Townsville in the afternoon compared to the games over in Argentina, but still, it's pretty bloody good from the Wallabies backs, especially to get into that kind of space. Argentina, their tries from those scrum set plays were bloody beautiful. The All Blacks in their game had 2 from lineouts, the Argentinians 2 from scrums, and they were absolute peaches. But they are having to do more with less because they just didn't have the possession in the last game, 41%. Like they got the same amount of run meters as the Wallabies. So they were doing more, but they were living with less. Imagine what they could have done if they'd had a bit more ball. So they'll be looking for the forwards to secure a bit more possession. And that team yellow card for them was pretty costly. They need to watch the offsides. They have the best tackle percentage in the competition. So they're defensively very sound. But they just need to watch the discipline while doing so. I mentioned last week was 28-24, so it was a proper close one. It is predicted to be pretty close this time as well. The bookies have got the Argentinians losing it by 6 points. Rugby Forecast got the Wallabies by 5 as well. So pretty similar, 6-5. Supposed to be within a try, whether you're looking at the bookies or the algorithm for this one. Remember, the Wallabies are in second on the table, just 1 point behind the All Blacks. With their games coming up against the All Blacks, you feel like the Wallabies, if they're going to be in contention for the Rugby Championship title, need a win here and maybe hope the Box did them a favour. Then the Wallabies could go clean at the top. The Pumas probably need to get a win here to keep their campaign alive as well. Englishman Christoph Ridley, he is the ref for this one. It's an afternoon kickoff, remember, so 2 p.m. over in Sydney. That's like 4, I think, for us in New Zealand in the afternoon. What time is that for you guys in Argentina? Probably not a great time, is it? If you're in South Africa or Europe, it's probably a pretty bloody early morning as well. But yeah, the way these two teams have been playing, I feel like this one is going to be pretty good value for viewing. You guys let us know your thoughts. If you want Wallabies gear, down in the description is a link to the Wallabies store. They've got all kinds of Wallabies or Wallaroos merchandise if you want to get behind the side. If you would care to subscribe to the channel, you have my thanks for doing so. It helps me out a great deal. You guys take care of yourselves. I'm off for dinner. A family friend is going to cook. I don't have to cook tonight. Hooray. Happy days. Take care. See you guys later. Bye-bye.